Welcome to Mind Hacks for Quitting Porn. You are listening to Episode 1, The Price of Transformation. Hello there. I'm Stephen McConnell. I'm a life coach. I'm a Christian. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But no matter who you are, I hope this podcast helps you in your struggle with quitting porn, helps you to better manage your sexual desire, and helps you believe again in a future that will be bright for you. In this first episode, I want to explain a little bit about myself, why I'm doing this, and to dive right into helping you right away. So, confessions first. Porn is something that I never considered myself addicted to. I had pretty clear boundaries for myself about not looking at it, but I saw just enough of it to understand that feeling of being drawn back to it again and again and wanting to see more of it. However, for me, the urge to masturbate was 10 times stronger than the urge to look at porn, and so I struggled with that pretty much ever since puberty. Now, I understand that some people have no moral problem with masturbation whatsoever. They just want to quit porn or want to better manage their sexual behavior. I totally respect that. And if that's you, I firmly believe that what I share in this podcast will still be highly valuable to you. So, back to why I'm doing this. Like many, if not most men out there, I struggled with how to manage my sexual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors ever since the hormones started rolling in during the early teen years. And growing up as a Christian, I believed that lust was bad. I was taught in church that porn and masturbation were sexual sins, and I believed they were not just minor sins, but like really bad sins. And it tore me up inside that I was so tempted by them. It seemed to directly conflict with my identity. I was considered by many to be the good kid that they knew, and I tried to live up to that. I always went to church, I read the Word of God and prayed daily. I generally obeyed my parents, never partied or got mixed up in drugs, did well in school. Okay, I did really well in school, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I graduated near the top of my class with a thesis-based master's degree in engineering. Not therapy, not life coaching. I wish there was a degree in that. Anyway, despite being the quote smart kid and the spiritual kid, I was at a loss to explain why I struggled with something I considered to be in stark contradiction to my values. As time went on, I also battled with anxiety and depression, much of which seemed to center around my struggle with this topic. It wasn't until about 5 years ago when I encountered a podcast from Jody Moore, a master instructor at the Life Coach School, that things began to change for me. I began to understand the power of our thoughts in shaping our everyday experience. That helped me a lot with my mental health, but I still struggled with managing sexual desire. A few years ago, I went through training to become a certified life coach myself, but it was a gradual learning process as I more fully applied the concepts to my own life that brought some of the insights that I want to share so much in this podcast. And if you are like me, then you probably tried a lot of things before you found this podcast. Do any of these sound familiar to you? Hiding your struggle until you hopefully figure it out. Shaming yourself. Hating yourself. Making excuses or justifying your behavior. Talking to a friend. Talking to a religious leader. Talking to a professional counselor. Talking to a therapist. Talking to medical professionals, attending addiction recovery meetings, talking to your spouse, deleting apps on your phone, adding apps on your phone, trying New Year's resolutions, trying to take better care of your body, taking medication, trying everything you can think of. I tried all of these things, guys. And while I'm sure many of those things were mildly helpful in some way, for me, none of them were the magic answer to the problem of what to do with sexual desire. At times, the desire could seem completely overwhelming and impossible to manage. So, to jump right into a concept that I find to be incredibly key and relevant to any struggle with sexual desire, I want to pull a quote from the Life Coach School founder, Brooke Castillo. She said, Discomfort is the currency to your dreams. Let me repeat that. Discomfort is the currency to your dreams. When I first heard this, it hit so hard, it rang so true for me, that I immediately began to wonder what the price was that I had to pay in order for my dreams to come true. I began to wonder specifically what I would be willing to pay for my dreams to come true. For all of you listening, I assume your dreams, like mine, include transforming your behavior and so much more. And surprisingly, discomfort is key to all of that. Hypothetically, if someone could make us a fast deal and guarantee us that our dreams would come true, without thinking, a lot of us would quickly spit out, "Oh, I'd give anything." But what we mean is we would give anything in that moment. But when we find out that it may take years to see our dreams realized, we are suddenly less thrilled. But that is the hard truth. It's not possible to give everything that we have all in one moment because personal transformation cannot happen in an instant. It takes time for growth to occur, and discomfort is a necessary part of that. We won't know that we have quit porn forever or permanently until permanently happens, until forever happens. What does all of this mean? It means that we have to be patient and we have to be consistent in trading the currency of discomfort for the dreams that we desire. Those words, discomfort, patience, consistency. We don't like those words, do we? That doesn't sound fun. That doesn't sound like everything we've ever wanted. But what if I told you that there is no other way? That all other success tricks are a sham? Because how could they possibly bring real results if they require no real effort from us? Do we think that our dreams are cheap? Do we honestly expect to trade nothing for what we most deeply desire? Of course not. But so often we spin in circles when choices are laid out in front of us because we feel overwhelmed and we don't know which path will lead to what we really want. Sometimes we don't even know what we really want. I have good news for you. If you want to be free from porn, if you want to restore a sense of self-control over your masturbation or sexual behavior, then I've done the hard work in mapping out the path for you. All you have to do is listen and try it out. So, going back to the quote, if discomfort is the currency, you might wonder how we pay it. Will any discomfort, if endured long enough, grant us our dreams? The answer is no, not just any discomfort. We make ourselves uncomfortable all the time with no benefit at all. For example, you feel the urge to look at porn. You think, I shouldn't do that, but you do it anyway. Then you think, well, I have to beat myself up now. I have to be angry at myself. I have to shame myself and say things like, no moral or respectable person would behave like I do. We start to feel so bad that we imagine that we are a lost cause, and we just go back to looking at more porn or more sexual indulgence, and the cycle repeats itself. But despite the fact that that cycle does not work, somehow we feel obligated to continue hating and shaming ourselves. We think that maybe if we can endure that type of discomfort long enough, that it will motivate the change we are seeking. But it never does, and it never will. Only the hope that there is something more out there, that there is something better out there for us than this endless, miserable cycle, is a sufficiently motivating feeling to move us in a more productive direction that includes lasting change. I love this concept from the Bible in 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I personally believe it would be appropriate to include, and God has not given us the spirit of anger, or of hating, or shaming, or guilt, or self-pity. Because none of those things do us any good, even though they are uncomfortable. So when we talk about discomfort, the type of discomfort that we want is the kind that requires us to step out into the unknown, to take a step of faith, if you will, and to grow ourselves as an individual. It requires risking failure by trying something new. For example, someone might have suggested that you should talk to your wife about your porn problem, and you might think, but what if that goes super badly, and then I have a porn problem and a wife that's mad at me? And my response to that would be, so what if it does go super badly? Do you want to free yourself from this problem or not? Do you really believe that it's possible to get to a place of self-respect without honesty? Yes, the experience of approaching your wife to talk about your sexual side habits might feel very uncomfortable, but it's a productive action that allows us to learn, and it comes with a bonus. I've heard it described that shame is like a bubble. If you want to pop the bubble, you have to bring it out of hiding. You have to tell the truth, and the truth will set you free from that shame. Now, being honest with someone else, or everyone else, may help divest you of some of those heavy, shameful feelings, but I believe it would be misleading to say that confessing will instantly solve your sexual problems. For most people, there is more work to do. Once we have been honest about the fact that we are looking at porn and masturbating or having sex outside of our committed relationship, then we have to start being honest with ourselves about why we are doing it. There can be many reasons, but I don't want this attempt at honesty to turn into a laundry list of personal faults and shortcomings that goes on and on. That's just beating ourselves up more. The simplest answer about why we're doing it, that is probably the truest for most people, is that it's pleasurable. Looking at porn is pleasurable. Sex is pleasurable. And that's it. That's why we're doing it. And now, we think we have to beat ourselves up for loving pleasure. We don't, actually. It is normal human behavior to respond to an experience of pleasure by wanting more of it. There's a brain chemical for that. It's called dopamine. It has a useful purpose. When human beings have sex, sometimes the woman gets pregnant and has a baby, and that has led to the continuation of the human race. And I think that is a good thing. But that doesn't mean that we can't set some rules or safeguards around our behavior to make sure that we are making choices rationally and intentionally instead of just responding to brain chemicals. Many of us also have religious reasons or concern for others around us that motivates why we want to moderate our sexual behavior. And I'm not here to judge your reasons. However, I do believe some reasons are more long-lasting and sustaining than others. For example, if you only want to quit porn to try to control what others think of you, then you may be disappointed because you cannot control what others think of you anyway. If you haven't found that out the hard way yet, you will. We all have our own minds and our own interpretation of what things mean. For example, you could proudly proclaim on social media that you quit porn and that you'll never look at it again, and some people will think more highly of you for that, and some people won't believe you. Some people will judge you that you ever looked at it in the first place, and some people will think you are weird for posting about it. Still, yet other people will wonder why in the world you stopped. This leads to an important point. You have to get really clear on what the reason is for you. Why do you want this so badly? What do you think quitting porn or moderating your sexual behavior will do for you? How do you think your life will change? How do you think you will change? And again, what is that worth to you? While it's true that I worried about the conflict of my behavior and my religious values, or that I worried about what standard of behavior I might be setting for my kids, I also really wanted to stop masturbating for myself. I wanted to prove to myself that it was possible to live within my values no matter how difficult that might be. I believed that the increase in self-respect alone would be worth it. Now, some of you may think that that is a selfish reason, and maybe it is. But what's wrong with that? Aren't we allowed to be concerned about ourselves? I believe in the idea that you have to learn how to take proper care of yourself before you can understand the best ways to help other people. And sometimes you have to take better care of yourself before you are even capable of helping other people at all. It's that airplane idea of putting on your own oxygen mask first, before assisting the person next to you. Once we are clear on our reasons, we can then motivate ourselves to move through the discomfort required to achieve our dreams. Consider the following statements that are true and motivating for me. For the price of discomfort, I can live within my values. For the price of discomfort, I can exercise self-control. For the price of discomfort, I can buy increased self-respect and trust. For the price of discomfort, I can demonstrate my commitment not only to myself and my family, but most importantly, a deep and abiding commitment to my Lord and Savior. I'm going to leave it right there for today, but join me next time as we discuss how normal aspects of the human brain can affect our success with quitting porn and other behaviors. Thank you for joining me in the episode today. For those interested in one-on-one help, claim your free consultation with me at GratefulLifeCoaching.com. That's GratefulLifeCoaching.com.